Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho.
Hi.
Welcome, everybody. Nice.
Hello.
All right. Very good. So we are recording. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Right. Perfect. Three times if possible. Okay. I have another one
Yeah.
in the lobby. So welcome, everybody. Have a good afternoon. We understand that this time is a bit demanding for the ones who are already, struggling from early this morning. So Gabby knows what I'm talking about, right? Well, here we are. Thank you very much for attending. This is the fourth session of the Learning Festival, and we are more than excited and happy to have you all here. I see so beautiful faces, long time no see, but so welcome again. And I see people that was with us and have been accompanying us during the whole day. So welcome everybody. Here we go. I will introduce my dear friend, colleague, partner in crime, and the one that shares cookies in the middle of of the shift, everybody, every day. Priscilla, she's the learning designer the learning, okay? And we share the office literally. And well, we are here more than glad to see her and to listen to her with this amazing presentation, this amazing talk on uh, learner agency. So without further ado, I open the floor to Pri.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Ed, for that wonderful introduction. I'm so happy to see all of you here. I see a lot of familiar faces. Some faces I don't recognize, so very nice to meet you. I'm so excited. Okay, let's get into it. Yeah, I need to start now because I can't handle this anxiety anymore. Okay, so before we start, before I talk about learner agency, before we really get into it, tell me. I want to get a little bit of your feedback. I know that this is, it's hard to ask people to participate so early on, but we'll try it. I have faith in you. Why do you think it's so difficult to sit down and study? Why is it so much easier to why is it that we when we want to sit down and study, we just come up with other things? Like all of a sudden you want to clean your kitchen and all of a sudden you want to put away all the laundry that's been sitting on the couch for a week and all of a sudden, worst case, you want to pick up your phone and scroll. Why is it so much easier to do those things than to study? Someone said ADHD. Okay. Okay, I hope I hope there's a diagnosis there. I think we colloquially say ADHD when we have short attention spans, but yeah, it's a lot easier to scroll on your phone, right? Than it is to focus on something, to read, to even listen or to watch something that's going to help you learn. I like this meme that from Kombucha Girl, Brittany Broski. I don't know if you guys know that. It implies effort, and sometimes we just want to relax. Yep, yeah. But I think maybe the mistake we're making is we're trying to mix relaxation with productivity, right? Because learning should be perhaps something that's considered productive, and then, scrolling on your phone or doing all of those other things, like even doing chores, could be a form of relaxation. We're mixing productivity and relaxation there, right? um so yes, it's so much easier to scroll on your phone It's so much easier to do those other things. And it's not just procrastination, it's not just ADHD. It's your brain avoiding discomfort. Learning something new forces your brain to work harder, and it doesn't feel productive at first. It is something that should be productive, but it doesn't feel productive at first because you're learning to do it. You're learning the thing. So your brain hasn't mastered it yet. And we hate not being good at things. We hate to not have something mastered immediately. But here's the thing. When you know how your brain works, you can start designing your learning around it instead of having this constant fight. So let's look at our agenda for today. We just talked about the introduction, so we have that covered. The other things that we're going to talk about are accountability, metacognition, motivation, and a little bit of organizing, and then we're going to close off with a short game. So first, accountability. So the word accountability, if anyone isn't familiar with it, to be held accountable for something means to take responsibility for it and to be prepared to face the consequences for those actions, whether they're positive or negative, right? So we can think of it like getting fit. You can have a trainer, a nutritionist, you can even have a gym buddy or like a group of people that you work out with. You can have this like entire support system, but at the end of the day, no one can lift for you. No one can go to the gym for you, unfortunately, right? That's something you have to do. And it's the same with learning. No one can learn for you. You can have all of these tools, all of this entire system set up. You can have an awesome teacher, amazing materials, top of the line, really supportive classmates. But at the end of the day, no one can learn for you. It's your responsibility to use those tools to the best of your ability to really, make something of it.
Are you sharing, Pri?
Yes. Am I not sharing?
No, we're not seeing that. So just for you to know.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Now you can see it?
Now we have it.
Okay. I was sharing my screen and then okay. Okay, so what I was showing was the previous slide, which is this one. The gym and studying. Okay. The next one. So taking accountability also includes being like we said before, learning is a little bit uncomfortable, right? So this is one of the uncomfortable parts of it. When we're not learning as much or as quickly as we'd like, it's really easy to blame it on those other things, right? To point the finger at the other direction. Those external factors that we talked about, like the material, the teacher, our classmates, the amount of classes that we have per week or per month, or the amount of time, like maybe the class is just 1 hour instead of an hour and a half. And of course, those things absolutely do have an effect on our learning. But what do we do about them, right? Because a lot of times some of those things cannot be immediately changed. So sometimes it's a good idea to do a little bit of reframing. For example, the phrase that I have here, I didn't learn this because the teacher didn't explain it well. Well, okay, that could be true, but maybe your teacher wasn't aware that you needed it to be explained differently. As with everything, communication is key. It's really important to know that you have to communicate, but you also have to know what and how you want to communicate it. We know everyone's learning styles are different. to be able to tell your teacher what your learning style is or what works for you, you have to identify it yourself first. You have to know what works to be able to tell your teacher, listen, this works and this doesn't. So that's going to take us into metacognition. But before we get there, we're going to talk a little bit about responsibility. But this phrase being reframed specifically, instead of saying, I didn't learn this because the teacher didn't explain it well, we can reframe it like, I didn't learn this because I didn't communicate what I needed. If I don't tell my teacher that this is not the way that I learn, maybe they can tell, but maybe not. It's a good idea to communicate it. Now, to be able to tell that that's not the way that you learn, you have to think about how you learn. Okay, before we get into metacognition, which is something that we're touching on, before we get there, let's talk about the actual definition of learner agency, right? Because I think maybe some of us don't know what it means. So learner agency in basic terms means taking the wheel. It means taking control. So you stop seeing learning as something that happens to you passively, and you start taking it as something that you are actively participating in. It's something that you do. You are learning and you are in control of it. Okay. So taking responsibility. There are a lot of ways that we can take responsibility for our learning, but these are just a few examples that I wanted to set out, the really simple things that we can do that we can put into practice today. So the first one, the most simple and the most obvious, and the one that we probably have all done before, is make a list. But instead of taking notes of what you do understand, try taking notes of what you don't understand, the things that confuse you. And okay, you think maybe that could be hard because, right, I don't understand it. So how am I going to take notes of it? Well, you can note down questions, like literally the questions that you have. What does this mean? What did the person mean when they said this? Or what did my teacher mean when they said this? I don't understand X thing. You can note down those things. A lot of times, it's surprising how much we actually forget, especially the things that we don't understand. So it's a good idea to make notes, not just of the things you do understand, but the things that you don't. Now, I know it's a big ask nowadays for me to be telling people to write things down. So if that's not your thing, that's okay. You can do the same thing, but record yourself. You can leave yourself voice notes. You can have a conversation with yourself in WhatsApp. And, depending on where you are or how you feel, you can text yourself or you can record voice notes of yourself to send to yourself and then to listen to. Those same questions, those same things that confuse you, you can record yourself saying them. You can have a mix of things that you did learn, things that you do understand, things you don't, etc. Something, an idea that's really handwriting boosts learning. Yes. Well, and yeah, if you can write things physically, of course, that's preferable. But I understand that, sometimes inspiration strikes and pen and paper is not nearby. So I'm providing alternatives. I'm being inclusive. Accountability, taking accountability alone is a little bit difficult, right? So one way that you can try to kind of externalize that responsibility is to do it with someone else. Pairing up with like a classmate or a friend. This makes another external source, another reminder, another way to hold yourself accountable. You even have someone else kind of holding you accountable and you doing the same thing for them. And lastly, leaving sticky notes everywhere. I know I have someone here who's a big fan of sticky notes and leaving sticky notes everywhere. but it's really, it may seem like it's not that big of a thing, but it is really powerful. And whenever we see those little notes and we read them and reread them, it sticks. So use that, not just the handwriting, but the sticking it somewhere, putting it somewhere visibly. It reaches you, especially for phrasal verbs, Tatiana says. Yes, yes. Leaving the phrasal verbs, it kind of sticks in your head. Yeah, I love that. Okay, let's get into metacognition. Okay. I know that this can be a little bit difficult, but I want to make it as simple as possible. So first, I'm going to break it down. So first, let's talk about the prefix meta and what meta means. So I want to give you the opportunity. Does anybody know what meta means? Not the teachers, not the teachers in the room, the non-teachers. Does anybody know what meta means? No? Like
Well,
Meta, Facebook?
in Spanish, yes, we all of us we know about the term meta, but I don't really sure about it in English. I know the meta definition for the social media name or the group of the social media itself, but I don't know really well the definition.
Okay. So it's connected. It's not exactly the same, but it is connected. So the prefix meta is a Greek prefix. And basically what it means, what it refers to is when we're talking about something referring to itself. So meta theory is theory about theory. Meta criticism is criticism about how we critique things. Metadata is data about data. So in that sense, metacognition is thinking about how we think, about our cognition, thinking about thinking. It's our ability to reflect on and evaluate how we learn, being conscious of how we learn. And this is the core of this entire topic. It's thinking about how how we learn, right? Gaining awareness of your understanding, what works for you, like we said before. It includes things like recognizing when you're zoning out, when you're losing focus, identifying the right strategies for you, the things that work. So here I have some questions that I've laid out that you can ask yourself to get you thinking about your thinking. So first, how do you learn best? Beyond like the traditional audio, visual, I think all of those things, all of those elements are applicable to everyone. It's not like a person is necessarily always a visual learner. I think it depends on the topic or the subject. It depends on how the person is feeling. It depends on a lot of things. So I don't like to see it that way. And also that's recently been disproved in recent scientific studies that we don't really adhere to learning styles. But that being said, what are the things, what are the strategies that help you learn? Is it writing things down? I know that really works for me. Really, like writing things down. I had to write everything that I'm saying now. I'm not reading it, but I had to write it to be able to say it to you today. So, teaching others, like what you learn, teaching it to someone else. I think a lot of us teachers can identify with that. Watching videos, talking to yourself out loud, seeing things visually. Yeah, learning styles is a myth. Yeah. But all of those strategies are real, right? The things that the way that we learn, those things being presented in different ways is real. And it does help us to identify what works and what doesn't. So that's something you can ask yourself. What's one strategy that works well for you? Something that you've experienced that does work well for you. and what's something that you know for sure doesn't work. It's a good starting point to identify something that does work and something that doesn't. And lastly, what time of day do you concentrate the best? I feel like this is really applicable, and we talk a lot about early birds and night owls. I feel like we're excluding afternoon people there, maybe a little bit. I feel like there are some people that really peak in the afternoon. Um, but and also some people really focus the best and are the most productive in the middle of the night. I felt that way before. Um, Identify that if you haven't already, if you're not already aware of it, identify that, see what time of day works best for you, and try within the realm of possibility to learn in that time. All right. Okay. Getting into motivation. This is a hard one. Motivation is hard. I think we've somehow become accustomed to expecting motivation to come on its own, to like something that just comes to you. Um, and of course, when it does, it's beautiful. It's so satisfying to get a sudden rush of motivation. It's like, are there any, do we have any musicians or artists here? Anyone in the arts? Anyone doing anything artistic? Writing?
Or
Anything like that?
maybe, yes, maybe communication could be considered
Right?
something in connection with the
Yeah,
art.
I think so. I think so. So, Tatiana, whenever you get like suddenly inspired by something and to write, how would you describe that feeling of inspiration whenever you feel like you have been hit by inspiration?
I need to focus on that moment to take notes everywhere I could be in that moment. So that's the reason why I usually take notes on my phone, on piece of paper, little piece of paper, sticky notes, and everywhere. I have paper and pen usually always the whole day with me. But this is true. It's true at the same time that when you need to be focused on something or having motivation or extra motivation or getting ideas, sometimes and the 90% of the time that usually happens, you don't feel that you have enough ideas for that moment. So you need to do or focus on something extra to come up with new ideas, you know.
Yeah. But that feeling of suddenly being inspired, it's kind of like it takes over you, and you cannot focus on anything else. You have to do that thing that you're inspired to do, right? So if it's writing, you just feel like you have to write this idea. um I know musicians get this feeling, they if they get like an idea for a lyric or a melody, they have to put it down, they have to record themselves singing it, they have to like immediately get it down because otherwise it'll go away, right? I feel like motivation, whenever it hits, it feels very similar to that, to inspiration, right? You just have to get it. If you miss it, you'll regret it. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, right? If you feel like if you don't take advantage of it in the moment, you're gonna miss it, and then it's gone, right? Um, so motivation, when it comes on its own, it's incredible. It feels incredible. But it doesn't always come on its own, and it doesn't always come when we need it to, right? So we end up kind of sitting around and waiting for it, and it doesn't come. Motivation sometimes just doesn't come on its own. And I think maybe that creates this sort of vicious cycle of no motivation, and then you're unmotivated by your lack of motivation. And because the feeling of motivation gets kind of buried deeper and deeper, and you start to forget how it felt to be motivated, it kind of starts feeling like a distant memory, and then we start to forget how it even felt. So we've all heard the phrase fake it till you make it, right? The confidence, right? Fake it till you make it. I know, I think I think that phrase can be applicable to motivation too. I think sometimes you gotta fake the motivation. You kind of have to do it. Stop waiting for the motivation to come and just do the thing that you're waiting for the motivation for. A lot of times whenever we start doing the thing, the motivation kind of comes on its own. Sometimes it doesn't. And it's not okay to necessarily be disappointed that it doesn't come on its own. It will eventually. It's a process, right? Start doing whatever it is that you have to do and get moving, get started. So for motivation, we have two main types of motivation. The teachers here, I'm sure will be very familiar with this because this is something that we cover very deeply in pedagogical terms whenever we're studying. We have two types, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So extrinsic motivation is motivation that comes from the outside. It's external. What it refers to, I like to think of it as something that's outside of yourself. It's motivation to reach an outside goal, like getting a job, a promotion, passing a test. It could be something like using what you're learning for a job interview. So I know that's one of the most common ones. A lot of students want to learn or improve English because they have to use it for a job interview or because they want to put it on their CV. That motivation is fine. It's fine. It's okay. Now, intrinsic motivation is motivation that comes from within you. It's the motivation to do something because you want it, because you really want it, because you're genuinely curious about the thing that you're learning, because you're engaged, you're interested, because it feels good. It gives you a sense of satisfaction. Now, not to bully extrinsic motivation and not to make it a competition or anything, but intrinsic motivation is clearly the one that we aim to have, right? Especially when we're talking about motivation. I think when learning, most of the time, it's easy to come up with extrinsic motivation, and it's pretty visible that learning X thing, whatever it is that you're learning, is going to give you access to XYZ, job opportunities, something on your CV, a promotion, career, whatever it is. But intrinsic motivation, because that has to come from within you, it's harder to generate, it's harder to come by. And that's where your agency comes in. You have to know, you have to be aware of what interests you, what makes you curious, what keeps you engaged in order to incorporate those things. Now, the last point I want to make about motivation, I think a lot of times we talk about managing our time when it comes to studying or learning something new, optimizing our time. I don't hear the same buzz around energy management though. And I think it's really important. We could probably all improve our time management in some way, I'm sure, but we also need to be aware of how we're managing our energy. Are we sitting down to study for an exam at 1 a.m. after having worked 9 hours, gone to the gym, cooked dinner, done the dishes, and put away the laundry? Like maybe that's not the most optimal time, not just time of day, because maybe you are a night owl, and maybe that is when you learn best, but maybe that's not the most optimal time in terms of your mental energy, is what you have left of you, right? The battery life. You're probably running at 3%. So are you really going to absorb the information that you're trying to learn if you're doing that at the very end of the day? So maybe you do, and that's great. But maybe you found through your learner agency and your metacognition that you actually learn better in the morning, or that you will have more energy in the morning in order to learn those things. So maybe it's better to really just go to bed at that time and wake up and set an alarm and wake up a little bit earlier tomorrow instead of trying to do trying to cram all of these things that you have to do into one 24-hour day, right? So manage your time. Yes, time management is important, but also be aware of your energy and manage your energy efficiently. All right, the last point. Now, I know what you're thinking, a study plan. So not only do I have to study, but I also have to plan on top of studying. Well, I'm a big fan of organization and planning. I know not everyone is like that, but it really does help. So I'm going to give you some really simple tips that you can apply to your, let's call it micro planning, because I don't want anyone to think that this is like a mega difficult, super hard task, right? So it doesn't have to be mega time consuming or complex. It can absolutely be, I mean, it can be. It could absolutely be more detailed and meticulous. Like if you're a fan of planning like me, you can absolutely break down your goals and set a super detailed plan and do it every day. Of course you can do that, but it doesn't have to be that complex. And I think in the beginning it's a good idea to start small just so it doesn't seem so overwhelming and it's easier to build up from it. So first, it's important to note that a study plan is not a prison. It's adaptable, it's flexible, and the best part is because you're taking charge of your learning, you're in charge of your plan. So if it's not working, you can change it. If you're no longer motivated by the same things, you can change them. And of course, as you learn, your goals get more complex and they could change altogether. And that's all part of the game. Like I said, start simple, but with enough detail. So it should be a roadmap, but you should have very specific goals. We'll talk about goals in a second. But define your goals, be very specific, break it into actions, keep track of what you're doing, and then reflect. I'm going to give you examples of exactly what I mean. So, little small things, right? You have this big goal, right? Like, I don't know, I want to give a presentation at work in 3 months. So you want to be successful in this presentation. So you want to set small actions that will help you reach that goal. I have these examples here that I have applied to English learning or improving English, but this is applicable for anything, not just learning English. But for example, changing your phone language to English, making a practice of texting a friend in English, following a recipe in English, watching a movie with English subtitles. When you put these little small actions together, you start building a puzzle and you start getting closer and closer to that big goal that you have. And that's the idea. We talk a lot about SMART goals. I know the teachers here already know what that stands for. You're free to look them up after this if you're curious, but I wanted to focus on the main characteristics of goals, of these actions, these small actions, beyond just SMART goals. So you want to be really specific. You want really small actions, things that are actionable, things that are doable, things that you can say, if I set everything down, I can do this right now. It has to be something very actionable, very realistic, doable. It has to be visible for you. So all of these things that we have here, these 4 examples, are visible things. You have evidence of them, and they're trackable. In this way, you can keep track of everything that you're doing, and you can actually see your progress. I think that is one of the most difficult parts of learning is it's intangible, it's not visible. These things make it visible to you. All right. We've gotten to the fun parts. Okay. So I have a little game that I would like for us to do. I may have to roll the dice for you. I don't know if I can give someone control of my of my I think I can give control. Anyway. So, here's what we're going to do. I have a die here, and we're going to spin it, and depending or roll it, sorry. I'm mixing the die with the game, the spin. So I have an excuse under each number. Depending on the number that you land on, you're going to spin the excuse into an action to avoid in the future, making that excuse for yourself, right? To not study. So Ed, maybe we could start and you can model for everyone else. Can we do that?
Right, let's do it.
Okay, I'm gonna roll it for you, okay?
Okay.
Okay, 1. Okay, what's excuse number 1? I'm too tired.
So I need to change this into
You need to spin it into an action.
I'm too tired. Well, I will take a nap, and after that, I will start studying. Just a 20-minute nap, and then I will study.
Okay, a power nap. Okay. The example I put, this is more connected to plan, but that's excellent. That was totally valid. So this one is more connected to planning, but
An 8-hour nap, says Mary.
an 8, yeah, that would be me actually. I would be the one taking an 8-hour nap. So in terms of planning, 10-minute low energy tasks for tired, like things that even if you say you're tired, you can still do, right? Like texting someone in English. Even if you're tired, you can do that. Like, I'm too tired is not a valid excuse for that. Okay. Who wants to go next? Anybody? Raise your hand.
I'm ready.
Yeah. Malvita, okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna spin it. Spin. Spin. I'm with spin. It's roll the dice. Sorry. Okay. This excuse in number 2 says I forgot.
Okay, like it's a pretty lame excuse.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I have a calendar pasted on my fridge. That just like points out like my study tasks, like because it's I mean, like, yeah, it's like the roadmap for the study, right? Like the official one.
Oh, okay. So I mean,
it's very hard to forget like about it, right? Also,
yeah.
Deadlines help a lot. Like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Oh, setting yourself
No,
deadlines.
not exactly. Yeah, not exactly like setting them myself, but like when you commit like to a study plan, like, oh, you have a test in 2 weeks, even if it's like a questionnaire, like that's super good.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, you have a lot of learner agency. I don't know if you needed this talk. Okay, next, Tatiana, do you want to go?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, I'll roll it. All right. 6. Okay. I had more important things to do.
Usually we have more important things to do rather than being reading
Yeah.
something that maybe you are tired or you are not so likely to do in a short period of time. So you are like putting it away. And well, but of course, there are many things important to do in a day, but studying is of course one of them. So I have to put it in the top of my list.
Oh,
So
a to-do list.
yes, So it's a to-do task. Whatever happens during the day in your agenda. I mean, it's a mental activity, you know. It's a
Yeah.
matter of discipline. It's important. Yes, it's important.
Absolutely. I see Elita, you said in the chat, I'm going to spin it or spin. That's like the fourth time I've said spin. Okay. Roll, I meant. For Ella. The material was boring.
Maybe I will find a better material for me.
Yeah. Yeah. How would you go about it? What kind of material works for you?
I don't know, maybe I can look in Instagram, YouTube, podcast is more interesting for me.
Excellent.
With-
Excellent.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Well, we don't have a lot of time left. But I see that game was fun. I hope you had fun with it. So you see, it's not that hard, right? It takes a little bit of being self-aware. It takes a little bit of thinking, but it's doable, and you start small and you build up from there. That's it. So thank you all so much for joining me. I hope that this was useful information for you. I hope you took something from it. I hope you feel motivated and inspired. And thank you all so much to everyone who participated and spoke up. And I'm so excited and I'm so happy that this went well.
On behalf of the whole audience, that this was amazing, right? Because most of the time learning is about, okay, I need to do this, I need to do the other, but what about the responsibility that we all have as students, as learners, on our own learning? So it's a very, very interesting topic. Thank you very much, Bri. So everybody is showing their love on the chat, and it was amazing. All right. As with every presentation, I just want to remind everybody here and people watching the recording starting on Friday, all right, that students can just take this, and after watching, you can go to your learning lab and complete the entry that it's for festivals. And also to all the teachers in the room, remember that you can also take these recordings and share them and watch them with your class and use it as part of your lessons. I think especially this one is really, really amazing, all right? For my flip mode teachers and learners, is also really, really valuable because it's empowering the learner, but taking that, grabbing that just as part of the process. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Priscilla, amazing presentation. So
Sure,
we are done for
guys.
today.
Thank you.
Day 2 is over.
Thank
We will
you.
see you
Bye.
tomorrow, Piri, for
We
day
need a
3 of the
picture.
festival.
The picture.
Oh, we need a
yes,
picture.
we need a
Picture,
Don't
sorry.
go. Thank you very much.
Don't
Thank
go.
you very
Let's
much,
take a picture.
Lucy. All right. Let me close
Wait.
this. All right. So you were gonna take it, Lucy. At the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Say free. It's okay. Yeah, let's forget. Let's wait for the okay.
Another one.
Another one, says the photographer. Okay, go ahead. In 3, 2, 1, free.
We have 2 pages because it's
Awesome.
too many people. Thank you
We
very
have
much
too
for
many
coming.
people.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you
we
all
need
so much for coming.
bigger screens. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank
you very
you.
much, Lucy, and thank you very much, Brit. Thank you.
Thank
We will
you.
see you tomorrow, day 3 of the festival. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Says will
Thank
be up.
you.
Bye.
Bye.